What's going on? What's going on? Come on in. Come on in. Just finished a wonderful range session. Let's see. What's going on? What's going on, great people? What's going on? All right. I'm just going to give it a little chance for some people to come on in, and then we will talk about some things. What's going on? All right, let's just dive right into it. What's going on? I'm Instructor Mike. Again, you can follow me on Facebook at Mike Brown or Instructor Mike. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Yes, Mike said it. Subscribe to my YouTube page, Instructor Mike. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications. What's going on, Lee and Sean? How are you all doing? Actually, I said good morning. It's good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing good today. You know, got some rest, all that great stuff. I just got through doing a not a concealed carry class. I'm taking a break this weekend. But I just got through doing a range session with some great folks, okay? And one of the things that I tend to do is I tend to evaluate some of the things that I do in terms of training, some of the things that my students do. Like I said, if you are not a student of this profession, there is a difference between an instructor who has a certificate, and I'm not saying your instructor just has a certificate, so I don't think I'm just beating up on instructors. I'm not one of those kind of folks, but there are differences between instructors who just have certificates and those instructors who are actually students of this profession. You can have the title of instructor and still remain a student. And if you want to be a great instructor, I would strongly suggest that you not only have the title of instructor, provided you've earned it, but you also remain a student of this profession, okay? You also remain a student of this profession, because there are so many things that your students can teach you, okay? And so many things that you must be willing to learn. Those of us in a certain, fraternity of sorts, we have a saying, often tried and never denied and willing to be tried again. If you know, often tried, never denied, and willing to be tried again. You got to remain that. Anything else, you're not growing, okay? So I hope you all had a good day. Let's just go on ahead and get into it. Before we get into it too deep, I do want to give a special shout out to South County Guns. South County Guns in Cherville. A great store that I just happened upon. I wasn't even looking for a gun store. I was out there with my children's books and stuff like that, trying to push them, and I just happened upon this store. Okay. The address is, let me get that out the way. 2133 U.S. Highway 41 in Cherville, Indiana. The number is 219-390-7415. 219-390-7415. South County Guns. They do specialize in your home defense and things like that. A wide array of firearms that you could definitely choose from as well. And this is not against, the gun store that I normally promote, Eagle Sports Range, stuff like that. I'll shout them out too. They have a wide array of, firearms. They do have home defense and things like that, where you can go on ahead and look at, safes and things like that, in a nice, comfortable environment. But they do have training simulators. I love these. The training simulators. You think you know what to do. You think you can do a great job. You think you can do different. Well, go on out there and try at some of these training simulators they have, with the can shoot versus must shoot, have to shoot versus want to shoot, things like that. Test out your skills. If you think you can do it better, test out your skills. And it's not I told you so. It's one of those, hey, you need to learn, okay? So South County Guns, give a shout out to them. Go on ahead and check them out if you're in the Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area, or if you're just visiting the area. 2133 U.S. Highway 41 in Schererville, Indiana. And of course, I always send a special shout out to Eagle Sports Range, 5900 West 159th Street in Oak Forest, Illinois. You can always go to them for your firearm needs. In fact, a lot of the videos that I produce them at Eagle whenever I do my training. I train my students at Eagle, things like that. Not just there, but that's where we do our firearms ranges and stuff like that. You know, I really love that gun store. They really make you feel like you're at home. So I do want to give them a special shout out as well. Okay, so let's go on ahead and dive right into it. One thing I noticed that with one of my students on the range today is that her shots were low. All right. And sorry about that. Now, two things, technical information. One of the things that I happened to notice in, training my people on the range today was they were shooting low. And when they were shooting low, this was their first time shooting. Well, not one of them. One of them, she had been through my concealed carry class, but she wanted some advanced, training, some one-on-one and stuff like that. And sometimes when people see or they hear the term advanced training, they think they're going to learn how to do some John Wick shit. They think they're going to learn how to, jump from a helicopter, rappel this stuff, that, low left, low right, clearing houses and, all other kinds of stuff. Yeah, that stuff does come. That stuff comes later. But one of the things that makes you good at what you're doing with a firearm is mastery of the basics. So it's like crawl, walk, run, And so as she was on the range shooting, I was helping her master trigger reset, okay? And that's another topic we'll get into another time. Trigger reset is very important. But as she was shooting, she was throwing the gun. What do I mean by throwing the gun? Well, I'm going to show you a video, just a little small video about throwing the gun, because it is very important that if you're shooting in the center and you're shooting low or even kind of like off to the side, but it's still low, off to the sides, left or right, that's a different issue. But anytime you're shooting low, it could be the result of you throwing the gun, or anticipating the recoil, causing the shot to go down. Here's a video of that example, and I kind of slowed it down too. Watch that front sight. You see that front sight, how it dips? It's like right before the trigger breaks. And the reason why you didn't see a lot of motion in that front sight dipping is because by that time she had begun to do very well with trigger reset. And so even if you do well with trigger reset, you're still going to end up throwing your shots if you anticipate the recoil. Here's her with her fiance. She did a great job in all things considering, okay? Now, some people may look at these targets and say, oh, you did a great job. How'd you do a great job? Her shots all over the place. Yeah, those shots are concentrated, sure enough. Look at her fiance on the left-hand side. He did a great job with his shooting, too. He didn't move the pistol as much, concentrated on getting the trigger to that wall and then slowly pressing the trigger. Pressing. I don't like to use the word turn or the term squeeze. We'll get to that shortly, probably in another, on-the-spot training session. But her shots were where they needed to be given that particular training session. Sometimes as instructors, we don't analyze that failure is a part of success if you learn from the failure. So when your students are shooting, but they're not hitting where you want them to hit, encourage them, okay? We'll still tell them, yes, you did not hit where you should have. You hit where you were supposed to because of how you were aiming and how you were shooting. That's what occurs when you're learning. But you're doing good, because you're at least out here trying. You're at least out here learning. You're at least out here trying. And failure is a part of success if you learn from that failure. So let's analyze that failure. So as you begin to look at this video again, which I do want to show, look at the front sight. See how it kind of dips right before that trigger breaks? Right before that trigger breaks. That one thing, you can do everything well and move your body the wrong way and then it could throw your shot off, depending upon what you're shooting at, how close that target or threat is, you know, stuff like that. So it's just the nuances, the little subtle things, the subtleties that need to be worked on, okay, the subtleties. And so that's why I kind of started this on-the-spot training. You know, whenever I feel like, you know, training on something, I'll just post a video, whatever the case may be, or go live with you guys. I like interacting with you all, and I'll do this more on my on my YouTube platform than Facebook. So let's go ahead and get to it. One of the ways you can kind of help prevent that from occurring, you know, dime drills, stuff like that. But I love my Cert Pistol. I love my Cert Pistol. Something so simple as a laser to let you know where you're actually going to hit. And one thing that I see, which is to me uber funny, right? One thing that I see when I'm training is when somebody will begin to shoot, and then the laser will go up, and then they'll bring the laser. I'll show you. Here we go. The laser will go up, and then they'll bring the laser down to where it should be. And I'm like, that's not how that stuff works. All right. Where you aim is where you got to actually hit. Okay. Where you aim is where you're going to actually hit. And so getting a Cert Pistol, you can go on, I forgot what's the website. Just look up Cert Pistol. Okay. You can get them from almost any place. I think the price I paid for this was like $220. And this is a affordable tool that you can use to help you with certain things such as sight alignment, sight placement. Sight alignment is aligning your rear sights and your front sights. Sight placement, you know, making sure that you see your front sight and your rear sight, focus on your front sight. You know, sight placement is the placing of those aligned sights, center of mass on that target, threat, or object. So once you begin to learn those things, you know, you begin to keep your body in place. Like you said, Brian, the economy in motion. Those of you all who may watch this video, I'm not reinventing any wheel here, but there are a lot of basic or just beginning shooters who want advice like this. So if it's for you, great. If it's not for you, that's fine too. Hey, what's going on, Santiago? How you doing? All right. So when you're beginning to press that trigger, you know, once you get to the point where you put your finger on the trigger, and we're just using the first pad right here, that digit, right finger on the trigger, and then you begin to get to the point where you get to that wall where the trigger stops, right? And then you begin to press that trigger. The one thing that you have to concentrate on is not moving your body, which means you need to get that issue out of your mind, get the situation as much as you can out of your mind to the point where you're worried about what the gun is going to do. And that was her main thing. She was worried about what the gun was going to do. She was worried about, well, the gun recoils, it moves, it's a lot. Well, if you treat this kind of like a car, right? When you get inside of the car, you don't start the car up, put the car in drive, and then get out of the car and push the car. You would be doing the car's job for it. Your job is to get in the car, make sure your mirrors and everything are appropriate, start up the car, put the car in drive, and then learn how not to mash on the gas pedal. Learn how not to just mash on the brake pedal, but learn how to smoothly apply pressure to that gas pedal. Learn when to apply heavy and when to apply light pressure on that gas pedal. Learn when to apply heavy pressure on that brake or light pressure on that brake, and then learn about timing too. It's your job to be an effective operator, not worry about the cars. Absolutely, John Doe. You have to creep before you can walk, okay? Not try to do the car's job for it. As long as the car is functioning properly, it's just waiting on you to do your job. You see what I'm saying? And so same concept with this. You don't get behind the trigger and mash that trigger, especially when you're talking about marksmanship. We're talking about making sure we can place that bullet in a non-stressful environment, making sure that we place that bullet exactly where it should go, okay, given there are no interrupting factors or barriers, right? So your job is to get behind that trigger, you know, and then put your finger on the trigger, the right area on the finger on the trigger, and then get to that wall and then smoothly press without disturbing the sight picture, without disturbing the gun, without letting the fear of what the recoil is going to do into your mind. Drop that fear. Shit happens. Cars move when you press the gas. Guns move when you press the trigger. You see what I'm saying? You said Kentucky windage. Cars move when you press the gas. Kentucky. Guns move when you press the trigger. If you understand that and get to that reality and don't fight the recoil by trying to throw the gun, right? You can sit here and, you know, get yourself in a proper, stance, sight alignment, sight placement. Put your finger on the trigger. Don't move the gun. Slowly press that trigger. Some things will cause the gun to move. If the gun is too big for your hands, you have to adjust your hands so where the finger can get to the trigger and have the right trigger placement to be able, or finger placement on the trigger so that you can, get that shot off, whatever the case may be. Those things can affect it. And one thing I've learned too, especially as an instructor, is learning how people learn based on how they have learned. Learning how people learn based on how they have learned. Think about it. When you're a kid and you're playing shoot 'em up, cops and robbers, good guys and bad guys, hoods and hoodettes, whatever you want to call it, when you're on the range and you're learning those, or not on the range, but when you're learning those things, as you're a kid, you think about it, right? What do we do when we simulate recoil? What do we do? Jerk our wrist. Pew, 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 pew. Right? We don't sit there and do this. Pew, 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 pew. Because without the sound effect, right, how would they know they were shot? Even if they heard the sound effect, it's this that makes you know or believe or think as a child that, okay, yeah, that imaginary gun has been discharged. But one thing shooters do, and I saw this too, is when they get on the range, they continue to simulate that same hand and wrist movement, thinking that they have to do what the gun does, right? They have to learn, and instructors, it's important that you get them to understand you no longer have to do this. The gun does it on its own. All you have to do is press the trigger and allow the gun to recoil. It's not your job to then cause the gun to recoil, because now you're causing the shots to go up. Another thing is they may not understand how the bullet or when recoil happens. Recoil happens after the bullet leaves the barrel, not before. You say operator as you do pew pew. Okay, here we go. They have to understand that the recoil happens after the bullet leaves the barrel and not before. And by you doing this, you're actually changing the trajectory. You're changing the angle. You're changing the direction that you want that bullet to go in by trying to counteract that recoil. Sometimes people think that by pushing the gun, that somehow because the slide comes back, they think in their scientific mind, well, if I push the gun and the slide comes back, somehow it's going to counterbalance. That's not reality. But I understand why they think that way. People are just a collection of their thoughts, experiences, and ideas, and even inferences and assumptions. And so you have to understand that, train in that space, and teach them in that space, right? And so, it's just a little bit on the spot training that I just wanted to throw out there. Don't dip the gun because you're trying to anticipate the recoil, because you're trying to fight it. It's going to happen. If you press that trigger, it's going to happen. Whether that gun is in the right direction or the wrong direction, whether you are going to throw the gun or jerk it, whether you're going to push it to the left because you got too little trigger finger, or pull it to the right because you got too much in a right-handed firer, or the opposite if you're left-handed. The gun is going to move when you press that trigger, provided everything works. Get used to it. It's going to happen, okay? So there's no way around it except if you brace for what you know is coming, right? All right. This is Instructor Mike, and you've been trained. I just want to go ahead and just do that. You said, have I ever heard of La Capone? I have. I think he was in the streets, I believe. One of the guys in the streets. I don't know if he was a rapper or some sort drill rapper, something like that. I've heard the name before, being from Chicago. And correct me if that's who you're talking about. I've heard that name, okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Here's another tool you can also use, okay? And you can find these on the internet, print them out, go to a gun store, buy them, whatever the case may be. But if you're aiming for the center and your shots end up in any of those areas or close to those areas, you got the tools right there that will tell you, hey, Steve, what's going on? You got the tools that will tell you where your shots are hitting so that you can work on that stuff. Make sure you get with a professional instructor. It's very important that you do that. There is a difference between just trying to go at it all your own, and if you get it, you got it. Good. I'm not saying don't go at it all your own. Of course, continue to do that. But if you don't get it, don't lie to yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you don't get it, don't lie to yourself and tell yourself that you do. There are plenty of people who go on the range and they mess up. I was on the range just a minute ago and I saw a lady getting a Band-Aid for her hand, a Band-Aid for her thumb because her thumb was in the wrong area. I hate to say it. Your boyfriend, boo, whomever, that does not always equal firearms instructor. There's an emotional component to that relationship that may or may not cause them to think about that emotional component and not train you the right way because they're worried about the relationship that they have with you and they don't want to damage it. When you hire a professional like or better than me, like I said, I'm humble. I'm just one guy in the land doing things with my hands. That's it. But when you hire a professional to actually teach you, you're going to learn things. And that professional doesn't care about what you feel about it. They care about what you know and can you show what you know. Because if you can't show what you know, you're going to be dead. And we instructors who are professionals, we actually care about your lives. You're not just a dollar. We charge because we got to make money, right? We charge because we got to make money. We got to sustain a business, right? But this is life or death information, and we actually care about you. I promise we do. It is our job to make sure we are instructing you the right way, okay? It's our job to make sure that, you pick the right kind of firearm, okay? Pick the right kind of firearm. If you don't know, get knowledge from an expert. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. This is Instructor Mike. And again, you have been trained. You say you like that paper? Yeah, get that paper. Absolutely. Okay. I also want to promote Tim Larkin's book, When Violence is the Answer. When Violence is the Answer. Go ahead and follow him on YouTube. Follow him on YouTube. Great guy. I love his mindset. Former Navy SEAL. And I love that book, When Violence is the Answer. Okay. That's mindset is everything, man. If you don't have the mindset for what you are about to do, you're dead in the water already. You're just waiting for someone to just put the bullet in you. Okay. Dead in the water already. This moment has also been brought to you by Big Deborah Snacks. When Little Debbie won't do, get Big Deborah or two. I'm just playing. That's bullshit. But just make sure you find yourself in somebody's class. Here we go.